My friend, there comes a moment in every believer's journey when heaven itself seems silent. You pray, yet no answer comes. You cry out, but there's no echo in return. You search for a sign, a confirmation, some miracle to remind you that God is still near. But all you encounter is silence. And it is within that silence that God performs His most powerful work. In that quiet, God is teaching you how to trust Him without needing a sign. He's showing you that faith is not forged in the noise of miracles, but in the stillness where your heart decides to believe even when it cannot see. So many wait for a sign before they move, before they believe, before they surrender. They say, if God would just show me, I'd trust Him. If He gave me a miracle, I'd believe. But that, my friend, is not trust, that's proof. And proof is not faith. Faith is stepping onto nothing, confident that God will place something beneath your feet. Faith is standing in darkness, convinced that the light will come. Faith is walking through the storm, knowing that the same God who led you into it will be the one to carry you through. God does not always send a sign because He is testing the strength of your trust. If He gave you evidence every time, you would depend on the evidence more than on Him. You would look for signs instead of seeking His presence. You would chase miracles instead of chasing His will. And so sometimes God hides the sign to see if you will still believe without one. There are moments when God closes every door, not because He has abandoned you, but because He wants you to learn that your trust must not depend on open doors. It must depend on Him. When everything goes silent, it is not a punishment. It is an invitation. God is saying, oh, will you still trust me when you cannot trace me? Will you still believe that I am working when you cannot feel me? Because trust is not proven when you understand. It is proven when you don't. Do you remember the times when everything seemed certain and suddenly the ground shifted beneath your feet? That was not destruction. That was instruction. God was removing your crutches so that you would learn to lean on Him completely. He was removing the noise so that you could finally hear His whisper. You see, when life is loud, we depend on signs. But when life goes silent, we learn to depend on faith. There is a hidden power in trusting God without a sign. It transforms your spirit. It deepens your roots. It takes your faith from shallow emotion to unshakable conviction. Because when you can trust God in the silence, you will never again be shaken by the noise. When you can believe without seeing, no darkness can make you doubt again. Sometimes God will let you face uncertainty so that your heart will find certainty in Him alone. You may look around and see nothing happening, but that does not mean nothing is being done. God does His greatest work in hidden places. The seed grows underground before it ever breaks through the soil. The foundation is laid before the house is seen. The answer is prepared long before the door opens. You may not see the sign, but that does not mean the hand of God has stopped moving. God is not asking you to understand. He is asking you to trust. He is not asking you to have proof. He is asking you to have faith. When you demand a sign, you are saying, God, I'll believe you when you show me. But true faith says, God, I believe you even if you never show me. That kind of faith shakes heaven. That kind of trust draws God closer than any sign ever could. There are people who will tell you that you must always have a visible confirmation before you move. But those people do not understand how God trains His chosen ones. He builds trust through silence. He strengthens faith through stillness. He molds your heart not when everything makes sense, but when nothing makes sense at all. You see, God's silence is not His absence. His delay is not His denial. His hiddenness is not His forgetfulness. When you cannot see His hand, you must trust His heart. When you cannot feel His presence, you must remember His promise. For He has not forgotten you. He is watching to see if you will walk by faith, not by sight. Every person God has ever used greatly has gone through a season of silence. Abraham heard a promise but waited years before seeing it fulfilled. Joseph had dreams but spent years in prison before the dream came to pass. They had no signs, only faith. And in that faith, they learned to trust God more deeply than ever before. That is the school of divine trust, where God teaches you that His Word is more reliable than your eyes. You may be in a season right now where nothing makes sense. You have prayed, but the heavens seem closed. You have sought direction, but all you find is confusion. You are asking God, give me a sign, but God is saying, I am your sign. You are looking for something visible, but God is looking for something invisible. Your trust. He is asking you to let go of the need to understand and to rest in the certainty of His goodness. The path of faith is not always clear, but it is always secure when God leads. Sometimes He hides the details so that your dependence on Him grows. If you knew every step, you would not need to hold His hand. But when the path is uncertain, you cling tighter. And in that closeness, your faith matures. Many people miss what God is doing because they are waiting for a sign while God is waiting for trust. They want lightning, but God is whispering. They want proof, but God is training. They want immediate answers, but God is shaping eternal character. You see, signs can comfort the eyes, but trust strengthens the soul. And God is far more interested in your soul than in your comfort. Do not mistake the silence of God for the absence of God. Sometimes His silence is the sign. It is a sign that He is preparing something greater than what you can see. It is a sign that He is testing your foundation. He is asking, will you love me for who I am or only for what I do? Will you trust me for my promises or only for my performances? Real trust is proven in the dark. Anyone can believe when everything is clear, but it takes courage to stand in uncertainty and declare, God, I still trust you. That is the kind of faith that moves mountains. That is the kind of trust that opens doors no man can shut. That is the kind of heart God honors. The greatest sign you can ever receive from God is not a miracle outside you, but peace within you. When you can say, even if I don't see it, I know He is working, that peace becomes your sign. That calm assurance that no matter how things appear, God has not lost control. That is faith at its highest form. You may be asking, why doesn't God just show me a sign? Because if He did, you would trust the sign more than the source. He wants your heart, not your eyes. He wants your surrender, not your certainty. God knows that if He removes every mystery, He also removes the beauty of faith. Faith is not about knowing, it's about believing when you don't know. Some of you are standing at the edge of a decision, afraid to move because you cannot see what's next. You are saying, God, give me a signal, but God is saying, move and I will show you. The Red Sea did not part until Moses lifted his staff. The water did not flow until the rock was struck. The provision did not come until obedience moved first. You are waiting for God to move, but God is waiting for you to trust. He will not always give you signs because signs make you dependent on feelings. But God wants you dependent on faith. Feelings fluctuate, but faith remains. Feelings can lie, but faith endures. Trust is not about what you feel, it's about what you choose. Even when your emotions are screaming doubt, your spirit must whisper, I still trust God. There will be nights when you lie awake wondering if you are on the right path. There will be days when fear whispers, "What if you are wrong?" But trust whispers louder, "Even if I don't understand, God is still in control." When you live like that, you become unstoppable. Because when fear can no longer shake you, no storm can defeat you. When God withholds a sign, He is protecting your spirit. He is preventing you from building your faith on temporary proof. He is guarding your relationship with Him from becoming transactional. God does not want you to follow Him for what He gives. He wants you to follow Him for who He is. My friend, when you reach that level of faith where you no longer need signs to believe, you become powerful, because then your faith is no longer tied to your circumstances. Your peace is no longer controlled by your surroundings. You live in the calm assurance that no matter what happens, God is faithful. You see, trust without a sign is the purest form of faith. It is the highest level of spiritual maturity. It is when your soul says, "Even if I see nothing, I still believe everything God promised." That kind of faith can move through fire and not burn. It can stand in the flood and not drown. It can face loss and still smile, knowing that what is unseen is greater than what is seen. Because trusting God without a sign is not weakness. It is power. It is the power to remain calm when others panic. It is the strength to stand still when others run. It is the peace that defies reason, the confidence that confuses the enemy, the faith that frightens fear itself. When God is silent, He is not ignoring you, and He is instructing you. He is teaching you to see through spiritual eyes. He is preparing you for the kind of blessings that require deep roots of trust. Because God cannot place heavy blessings on shallow faith. The deeper your trust, the greater your destiny. There will be times when your faith feels stretched to the breaking point. When you stand in the middle of uncertainty and everything around you seems to contradict what God promised, you'll look to the heavens and ask, "Where are you, God? Why can't I feel you? Why can't I see a sign that you're still with me?" But that's the moment when God whispers into your spirit, "My child, I never left. I'm not hiding from you. I'm strengthening you." God doesn't need to shout when He knows your spirit has learned to hear His silence. Silence becomes His language of trust. And in that silence, He is molding your soul into something unshakable. You see, when God teaches you to trust Him without a sign, He is teaching you to walk on a higher level of faith. Signs are for the beginning of the journey, not for those who have matured in spirit. When you were new in faith, you needed confirmations. You needed open doors, quick answers, visible results. But as you grow, God expects you to walk by inner conviction, not outer evidence. Because true faith graduates from needing to see to simply knowing. It's the knowing that even when you don't see His hand, His plan is still unfolding perfectly. It's the knowing that even when life feels uncertain, God's control has never wavered for a second. There is a reason God sometimes delays His response. If He showed you everything too soon, you would never develop endurance. You would never learn the discipline of waiting. And waiting is not punishment. It's preparation. Waiting is the classroom of faith where your spiritual muscles are trained. When God hides the outcome, He's not withholding it from you. He's holding it for you until you are strong enough to handle it. Because sometimes the blessing is ready, but the believer is not. God withholds the sign to make sure your trust is deep enough to sustain the weight of what's coming. Think of it this way. If you always needed signs to move, the enemy could deceive you with counterfeit signs. But when your faith depends only on God, no deception can control you. When you trust God's voice above everything visible, nothing visible can shake you. That's why God is teaching you to believe even when the evidence disappears. He's separating the real from the fake. He's refining your trust so that no storm, no delay, no silence can ever break your confidence in Him again. And yes, sometimes trusting God without a sign feels like walking through fire. It feels lonely. It feels like no one understands what you're going through. You might even feel as though God Himself has forgotten your name. But listen to this truth. God hides Himself not to abandon you, but to awaken you. When you can't find Him in the usual places, you begin to search for Him in deeper places. You begin to pray differently. You begin to listen differently. You begin to walk not by what is happening around you, but by what is growing within you. That's the kind of faith that builds spiritual giants. When everything seems to fall apart, that's when trust must rise higher than fear. You must say, God, I don't need to see the whole picture. I trust that you hold every piece. That statement of faith is powerful. It shifts you from worry to worship, from fear to focus, from panic to peace. The moment you stop demanding proof and start resting in faith, heaven moves on your behalf because God responds to trust. God honors surrender. God rewards patience. Some of you have been praying for years and haven't seen any sign that your prayers are being heard. You're tired. You're wondering if your words are just echoing into emptiness. But let me tell you this. God has never ignored a single prayer that came from a sincere heart. Not one tear has gone unnoticed. Not one cry has been forgotten. He is not silent because He doesn't care. He is silent because He is working behind the curtain of time, arranging things you cannot yet see. His silence is not absence. It is alignment. He's aligning the right people, the right doors, and the right timing so that when everything comes together, it will make sense why you had to wait. When you can't see the sign, remember what He already did. The same God who carried you through the last storms, the one who stands with you in this one, the same God who made a way when there was no way before, is still the same today. His nature doesn't change. His promises don't expire. The silence you feel now does not mean He has changed. It means He is strengthening what He already built inside you. And God will never test your trust without purpose. Every silent season carries divine instruction. Every unanswered prayer hides a deeper lesson. God is not just preparing your circumstances. He's preparing your heart. Because blessings are not sustained by signs, they're sustained by faith. If you receive the miracle without building trust, the miracle will fade. But if your trust is strong, even when the miracle delays, your peace will remain unbroken. There is a sacred kind of faith that only grows in the dark. It's the faith that says, even when I hear nothing, I know God is near. Even when I see nothing, I know He is doing something. That kind of faith is unbothered by time, untouched by delay, and undefeated by fear. It's the kind of faith that moves silently but carries divine authority. When you walk with that kind of confidence in God, you no longer need signs. You become a sign yourself. Your peace becomes a testimony. Your calm becomes evidence that you walk with the Almighty. God is teaching you something powerful. Trust does not grow in comfort. It grows in conflict. You don't learn to trust when everything goes your way. You learn when nothing goes your way, and you still refuse to give up. The silence of God is the soil where unshakable faith grows. When He seems far away, that's when He's closest. When everything looks like it's falling apart, that's when He's building something new. When your strength runs out, that's when His strength begins to carry you. Stop waiting for the sign and start trusting the source. God wants you to depend on Him so deeply that no delay, no doubt, and no darkness can move you. You must come to a point where you say, God, even if you never give me a sign, I will still believe. Even if I walk through the valley without direction, I will still follow you. Even if everything around me falls, I will stand firm, knowing that you are still on the throne. That is the language of faith that heaven responds to. There is a peace that only those who trust without signs can understand. It is a quiet strength that others can't explain. People may ask you, how are you so calm when nothing is working? And you'll simply say, because I know God. That kind of faith frightens the enemy because it cannot be manipulated. When your confidence comes from signs, the enemy can use delays to discourage you. But when your confidence comes from God Himself, nothing can shake you. You are no longer moved by what you see. You are moved by what you know. And what you know is this: God is faithful always. He may be silent, but He is never still. He may be unseen, but He is never absent. His timing may confuse you, but it will never fail you. Trust Him even when it doesn't make sense, because eventually it will. Every unanswered question will one day reveal its purpose. Every closed door will one day prove why it had to stay shut. Every delay will one day show that it was divine protection, not rejection. There's a reason the strongest people of faith walk quietly through storms. It's not because they never feel afraid. It's because they've learned that fear doesn't control outcomes. God does. They've learned that even in silence, God's plan is active. That's why they don't beg for signs. They walk with assurance. And that's what God wants for you, to live with such deep inner peace that even when the world shakes, your heart stays still. There comes a stage in life when trusting God feels like standing at the edge of an invisible bridge. You cannot see what's ahead, but something within you tells you to step forward. That inner voice, quiet but firm, is the echo of God's presence guiding your spirit. And when you take that step, even without seeing the path, something miraculous happens. The ground begins to appear beneath your feet. That's how trust works. It doesn't begin with sight, it begins with surrender. God does not ask you to see the outcome. He asks you to believe that He holds it. God's greatest lessons often come in moments when there is no evidence of His activity. Because when you can trust God without needing a visible sign, it means your heart has learned the true rhythm of faith. Faith isn't loud. It isn't dramatic or full of sparks. Faith is the quiet confidence that stands steady in the middle of chaos. It's the calm whisper of your soul that says, God has never failed me before, and He will not start now. Signs fade away, but trust endures forever. Signs can stir your emotions, but trust transforms the depths of your spirit. Signs appear and disappear, but a heart that trusts stays anchored through every season. God longs to root your soul so deeply in Him that no storm, no loss, no uncertainty can shake your peace. When the world demands proof, faith gently answers, God is enough. When God seems silent, He's not ignoring you. He's training your heart to hear beyond the sound, to listen with your spirit. He's drawing you to a higher awareness, where your spirit hears what your mind cannot comprehend. It's in that silence where your heart becomes sensitive to His direction, where you no longer depend on outward signs, but inward certainty. God wants your relationship with Him to mature to the point where even if the entire world doubts, your faith stands unshaken. There's a reason why God sometimes hides His plan. If He showed you everything at once, you would run ahead of His timing. But the silence keeps you humble. It keeps you still. It keeps you dependent. Because the moment you think you don't need to trust anymore, you begin to drift away from the very source of your strength. God knows that the longer you walk by faith, the stronger your roots grow. Roots don't grow during the sunshine. They grow underground in darkness. And so it is with your faith. When you're walking through a silent season, remember this: God's silence is not the same as God's absence. The sun may disappear behind the clouds, but it never stops shining. In the same way, even when you can't see or feel God, His power continues to sustain you. The silence may confuse your mind, but it will awaken your spirit. The waiting may tire your body, but it will toughen your soul. There's a holy mystery in learning to trust without a sign. It's a sacred space where the noise of the world fades and your heart begins to discern the movement of God in unseen ways. In that place, you realize that miracles don't always happen in the visible realm. Sometimes the miracle is that you didn't quit. Sometimes the miracle is that you kept your peace when everything around you was chaos. Sometimes the miracle is that you continued to trust even when there was no proof. Many people miss the beauty of what God is doing because they are too busy searching for confirmation. But confirmation is not the goal. Connection is. God wants your trust, not your constant demand for reassurance. He wants you to walk with Him in such deep confidence that even when you see nothing happening, you can say, God, I still believe you are working. When God removes signs, He is revealing your foundation. It is easy to believe when you have constant evidence. But when evidence disappears, you discover what your heart is truly built upon. Are you built upon emotion or conviction, upon feelings or faith? God strips away the visible to strengthen the invisible. He removes the signs to reveal the substance. Think of the quiet seasons as spiritual training ground. These are the moments that build spiritual warriors. Warriors are not made in comfort. They are made in silence, struggle, and solitude. It's in the unseen moments of waiting that you learn endurance, patience, and divine perspective. And when you come out of that season, you'll realize you are not the same person who entered it. You will speak with authority because you've walked through the fire without burning. You'll carry peace because you faced storms and didn't drown. God's silence is not punishment, it's promotion. It means He's trusting you with maturity. He's saying, you no longer need signs to follow me, you've learned to follow my voice. That's the graduation of faith. That's where the powerful walk with unbreakable confidence in God's plan, no matter how invisible it seems. When you live in that place of trust, even your pain becomes purposeful. Every delay becomes divine design. Every closed door becomes redirection. And every silence becomes a sacred invitation to draw nearer. Because the truth is, God's silence often means He's about to speak in a louder way through His actions. You may not hear His voice, but soon you will see His hand. And when He moves, everything will shift in ways you could never imagine. There's a peace that comes only from trusting God without a sign. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's quiet, steady, and powerful. It's the peace that allows you to smile when others panic, to rest when others worry, and to praise when others complain. That peace is not ignorance, it's confidence. Confidence that God is faithful even when He's silent. Confidence that the unseen plan is better than anything your eyes could show you. Some people think faith is about always feeling strong. But real faith sometimes means crying while still believing. It means walking with trembling hands but a steady heart. It means saying, "God, I don't understand this, but I still trust you." That's the kind of faith that shakes the heavens. Because when you trust God without needing proof, you prove to God that your faith is real. And God never ignores real faith. Heaven moves for those who trust. Mountains shift for those who refuse to give up in silence. Doors open for those who continue to walk without sight. You may not see the sign yet, but your endurance is creating it. You may not hear the answer yet, but your trust is drawing it closer. Because trust is not waiting passively, it's standing firmly in quiet confidence. There is a hidden strength that only appears in the absence of sign. It's the strength that says, "Even if nothing changes today, I will still be faithful." That is the strength of those who walk intimately with God. They have learned that peace is not found in results, but in relationship. They have learned that answers may delay, but God never does. When you truly learn to trust God without a sign, you stop begging and start believing. You stop questioning and start resting. You stop chasing outcomes and start cherishing His presence. That's when faith becomes freedom. Freedom from worry, from fear, from the need to control. And in that freedom, you find your greatest strength, total dependence on God. So if you're in that season now where prayers seem unanswered, where signs are nowhere to be found, do not despair. You are in the place where faith is perfected. You are in the workshop of the Almighty, where unseen hands are shaping your destiny. Every silent day is molding your heart, refining your vision, and deepening your roots. The silence is not empty. It is full of divine activity. And one day, when God decides the time is right, everything will unfold with such precision that you'll understand why He made you wait without a sign. You'll see how every unanswered question led to greater wisdom, how every delay positioned you for the right door, how every moment of silence protected you from something that could have destroyed you. You will realize that the silence was sacred, that it was not the absence of God, it was the presence of His deeper purpose, that He was not withholding signs to hurt you, but to help you see that true faith doesn't need them. And when you reach that revelation, you will never fear silence again. You will welcome it knowing it's a sign of divine trust, a signal that God considers you mature enough to walk by faith alone. That's when your heart will rise with a new kind of strength, a peace that no storm can break and a faith that no darkness can touch. Because now you know God doesn't have to show you everything for you to believe. You believe because you know Him. You trust because you have seen His faithfulness in the past. And you walk in confidence because you know, though you may not see the sign, God is still guiding your every step. Sometimes God allows silence because He is building something sacred within you. You may not hear His voice, you may not see His hand, but deep inside He is shaping your faith into something that cannot be shaken. Many people only trust God when they can trace Him, when they can see the evidence, when they can understand the why. But real trust begins where logic ends. Real faith begins when God seems hidden. It is in those moments of divine silence that God tests whether you truly believe that He is still in control. Even when He doesn't explain Himself, God does not need to prove Himself to you. He is already God. His greatness does not depend on signs, blessings, or miracles. It depends on your willingness to believe even when nothing around you makes sense. There will be seasons when you pray and feel nothing, when you cry out and there is no immediate answer, when you give your best and life seems to fall apart. Yet even then, God is still there. His silence is not absence. It is preparation. He is teaching you how to walk by faith, not by sight. You see, faith that depends on signs will crumble when the signs disappear. But faith that depends on trust will stand through every storm. God wants to raise you to a level where your heart says, even if I see nothing, I still believe that God is working. That kind of faith confuses the enemy. That kind of faith makes heaven move. Because when you no longer depend on proof, you have stepped into the purest form of belief. A belief rooted not in evidence, but in the unshakable truth that God is faithful. There are times when God removes every comfort, every assurance, every visible promise, because He wants to see what is truly in your heart. Will you still pray when you don't feel His presence? Will you still obey when there is no reward in sight? Will you still praise Him when you are surrounded by pain? These moments reveal who truly trusts in God and who only trusts in what God gives. When you learn to trust God without a sign, you are learning to love Him for who He is, not for what He can do. And that is the highest form of faith. God is not interested in shallow devotion that only exists when things are good. He desires a faith that stands strong in darkness, that refuses to quit when there are no answers, that says, my heart is steadfast because I know God is still on the throne. Remember, even when you can't trace God's hand, you can trust His heart. The silence you are experiencing is not punishment, it's preparation. God is stretching your faith so that when the breakthrough comes, you will not worship the miracle. You will worship the one who sustained you through the waiting. He is teaching you to rely not on what you see, but on who He is. There will come a time when everything inside you will want to give up, when doubts will whisper, God has forgotten you, when fear will scream, you are alone. But the truth is, God has not abandoned you. He is closer than ever before, standing in the unseen realm, arranging things you cannot yet perceive. Every delay has purpose. Every silence has meaning. Every unanswered prayer is part of a greater design. When God teaches you to trust without a sign, He is inviting you into spiritual maturity. He is saying, can you walk through this valley and still believe that I am your shepherd? He is asking, can you lift your hands in praise when there's nothing left to hold on to? Because real strength is not built on comfort. It is built on surrender. The kind of trust God desires cannot be born in ease. It is forged in fire. You must understand your faith is being purified. Gold is tested by fire, and faith is tested by silence. When you stop depending on signs, your soul becomes anchored in truth. And the truth is that God never changes. He never fails. He never breaks His word. The silence of God does not mean the absence of His power. It means He is working in ways that require your patience. Some of you are waiting for a sign before you take a step. You are saying, God, show me and then I'll move. But God is saying, move and then I'll show you. Faith is not waiting for confirmation. It is walking in confidence that God will catch you if you fall. Abraham did not wait for proof. He obeyed the voice of God and trusted that the unseen would become seen. That's what it means to walk by faith. The strongest believers are not those who have seen the most miracles, but those who have stood the longest without seeing anything and still refuse to doubt. Because when you keep trusting even in silence, you are declaring that God is bigger than your circumstances. You are declaring that your faith is not for sale, that your belief is not dependent on results. You are saying, I don't need a sign. I have a promise, and that promise is enough. God's greatest work in you will often be done in the dark, when there are no lights, no clarity, no assurance, only faith. He hides himself not to harm you, but to strengthen you. He removes the signs not to confuse you, but to purify your belief. For a time he may let you walk through the unknown so that you learn to depend fully on his unseen presence. That is where true peace is found, not in knowing every answer, but in knowing God's character. There will come a moment when you will look back and realize that every silent season was sacred. Every unanswered prayer protected you. Every delay redirected you. Every not yet from God was a way of saying, I have something better prepared for you. But you couldn't see it then because you were still learning to trust without proof. If you are walking through a storm right now and there is no sign from heaven, hold your peace. God has not forgotten you. The silence is not the end. It is the classroom where trust is taught. Keep praying even when you feel nothing. Keep believing even when there's no evidence. Keep obeying even when you don't understand, because your obedience in silence is the loudest declaration of your faith. You may not realize it, but every test is refining your spirit. Every unanswered question is drawing you closer to the heart of God. When you choose to trust without seeing, you are declaring to the universe that your faith is not based on comfort. It is based on covenant. You are proving that your love for God is not conditional. It does not depend on blessings, on feelings, or on sign. It depends on truth. And the truth is that God is worthy of trust whether or not He speaks. Faith is not the ability to believe when there's a sign. Faith is the ability to believe when there's nothing but silence. That's where you become strong. That's where you learn that God is enough. That's where the noise of the world fades and only His quiet assurance remains. When you reach that place, you no longer chase sign. You chase God Himself. And in doing so, you discover that the greatest sign of all was His presence that never left you, even when you couldn't feel it. So when you stand at the edge of uncertainty and nothing makes sense, stand still and know that God is God. He does not need to show you a sign to prove His presence. The very breath in your lungs is proof enough that He is still working. When the doors remain closed, when the prayers seem unanswered, when the world feels silent, understand this: God is not ignoring you. He is inviting you to a higher level of faith, a deeper level of trust, a pure connection that is not built on what your eyes can see, but on what your heart believes. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Every delay, every silence, every moment of confusion is building a strength inside you that cannot be shaken by the storms of life. You are learning to walk by faith, not by signs. You are learning to love God for who He is, not just for what He gives. And when the time comes, when the lesson is complete, when your heart has learned to trust without needing proof, then the same God who was silent will speak, and His voice will thunder with purpose. One day, you will understand why God made you wait. You will see the reason He removed the signs you were searching for. Because it was in that silence that your faith was refined and made unbreakable. It was in that darkness that your light finally began to shine. So keep walking forward, keep believing, keep trusting, even when no sign appears before you. Remember this: God's silence does not mean His absence. His stillness does not mean He has forgotten you. It is His love shaping you, teaching you that real faith is not founded on visible miracles. It is founded on a living relationship with Him, a relationship that whispers, "Even when I see nothing, I still know my God is here." And when your heart can rest in that truth, heaven itself will bear witness that you have learned the greatest lesson of faith, to trust God not because of what you see, but because of who He is. And that, my friend, is where true strength begins. My friend, listen to me. There comes a time in every person's journey when the heavens that once overflowed with blessings seem to grow quiet, when the soil that once produced fruit feels cracked and barren, when the soul that once burned with fire feels weary and empty. Yet even now, if you listen with your heart, you will hear God whispering into your spirit. Your drought has come to an end. The same voice that spoke light into the void is now breathing life into your dry season. You may not see the clouds forming yet, but the rain is already on its way. You may still feel the heat of the desert, but soon the river of God will flow through your life once more. There are moments when God permits the drought. He allows the land to thirst, the heart to long, and the soul to cry out for something more. Not because He has forgotten you, but because He is preparing you. When everything dries up around you, when the blessings that once flowed seem to disappear, it is not the end. It is the beginning of transformation. For God uses the drought to draw your heart back to Him. He removes the comfort to awaken your faith. He lets the wells run empty so you will remember who is the true source of your water. You see, many people praise God in the harvest, but they question Him in the drought. Yet the drought is not a punishment, it is a process. It is where God tests what your faith is made of. It's easy to lift your hands when everything is green and growing, but can you still trust God when the field looks barren? Can you still believe when the promise seems delayed? Because if you can trust Him when you see nothing, you are about to step into a season where you will see everything. God is saying to you right now, I have seen your tears. I have heard your prayers. I have watched you hold on when others walked away. I have watched you sow in faith, even when there was no harvest in sight, and now I am about to reward that faith. Your period of drought is over. The drought was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to develop you. It was training your spirit to depend on God, not on people. It was teaching you to find strength in silence, to find peace in storms, and to find purpose in pain. You may have thought you were being buried, but you were actually being planted. The dryness was not death. It was preparation for growth. And when God says your drought is over, no force in the world can stop the rain that's coming. There's someone listening who has cried night after night saying, God, why have you forgotten me? Why does nothing work anymore? Why is everything falling apart? God is saying, I never forgot you. I was working beneath the surface. I was building roots in you so strong that when the rain comes, you will not be shaken again. When God brings you out of a drought, He doesn't just restore what you lost, He multiplies it. Because the same God who allowed you to walk through the wilderness is the same God who will make rivers flow through the desert. The same ground that looked dead will burst into life again. The same heart that felt weary will burn with faith again. There is power in the waiting. The waiting season is where God strips away your dependence on what you see and strengthens your faith in what you cannot see. Sometimes He withholds the rain so that you will cry out to Him again. Sometimes He lets the branches wither so that you will remember that your roots must go deeper in Him. And when that happens, when your faith grows deeper than your fear, that's when the first drop of rain begins to fall. You may be saying, but I've waited too long. I've prayed too long. I've believed too long. No, my friend, God's timing is not delay. It is design. He doesn't forget His promises. He fulfills them when the soil of your heart is ready. You are about to see that what looked like delay was actually protection. The drought kept you from depending on the wrong people. It kept you from settling for less. It kept you from being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And now God is saying you have passed the test. The drought has done its work. Now the rain must come. When God speaks of rain, He's not talking about water that falls from the sky. He's talking about divine favor, unexpected opportunities, open doors, supernatural strength. He's talking about the revival of your spirit, the restoration of your dreams, the resurrection of your purpose. He's talking about peace that returns after years of turmoil, about joy that erupts after seasons of sorrow. You may not feel it yet, but you will. The first sign of the rain is not always visible. It's spiritual. You'll feel a stirring inside you. You'll feel faith waking up again. You'll feel hope whispering, "It's not over." That is God's confirmation that your drought is breaking. Remember how the prophet looked for a cloud? He sent his servant again and again, and each time there was nothing. But then, one day, there was a small cloud just the size of a hand rising in the distance. And that was enough to know that a storm of blessings was on the way. That's how God works. He gives you a small sign to prepare your heart for a great outpouring. Don't despise small beginnings. That small change you're seeing, that small door that's opening, that small feeling of strength returning, it's the first sign that your drought is ending. When the rain of God falls, it falls suddenly. One moment the land is dry, the next it's overflowing. One moment your prayers seem unanswered. The next, everything begins to shift. That's how quickly God can move. The same day Joseph was a prisoner, he became a ruler. The same day the famine ended, the people began to rejoice. The same day God speaks, the heavens open. And I tell you, your heavens are opening. God is saying, prepare yourself, because the season of lack is ending. The time of waiting is closing. The time of abundance is coming. You are not going to remain in this drought another year, another month, another day longer than God allows. The season is shifting. When God ends a drought, He not only restores the rain, but also redeems the time. Every year you thought was wasted, every prayer you thought was ignored, every effort that seemed forgotten, God remembers it all. He will restore the years that the locusts have eaten. You may have lost seasons, but you have not lost destiny. God's restoration is never partial. It's complete. The drought might have taken your strength, but it didn't take your spirit. It might have tested your patience, but it didn't break your faith. You may have been weary, but you never gave up. And that's why you're about to step into overflow. You've proven that your faith is not based on what you see. It's based on who God is. The land is about to yield its fruit again. The dry places in your life are about to bloom. The doors that were locked are about to swing open. God is saying, you have been faithful in the drought. Now I will make you fruitful in the rain. Every tear you shed watered the seed of your breakthrough. Every time you refused to quit, you were preparing for this moment. Every time you prayed when it didn't make sense, you were aligning yourself with the timing of God. And now that timing has arrived. The same God who shut the heavens is opening them again. Look up. The clouds are forming. Look up. The wind is changing. Look up. The season of drought is turning into a season of overflow. You are going to feel the rain of God's goodness again in your home, in your health, in your heart, in your finances, in your peace. You are not forgotten. You are favored. The drought made you stronger. It made you wiser. It made you more humble. It taught you that everything can be taken, but God remains. It revealed who your real friends were. It showed you who you could trust. It stripped away the shallow so that the real could remain. You are not the same person who entered the drought. You are wiser, purer, and more powerful in faith. And that's why God is ready to trust you with rain again. He's ready to pour blessings you can handle because now you know how to value them. You won't waste the rain that's coming because you remember what it was like to live without it. You won't take His favor for granted because you remember the pain of dryness. Hear this truth. God never ends a drought without purpose. The rain is not just for you. It's for those connected to you. Others will drink from the overflow that's coming into your life. Your testimony will bring hope to those still in the desert. They will see what God has done for you and say, if God could restore them, He can restore me. The time of mourning is ending. The time of dancing is beginning. The time of silence is ending. The sound of abundance is near. Listen closely. Can you hear it? The sound of rain. The sound of breakthrough. The sound of answered prayers. This is your moment to rise again. You've been down long enough. You've been in hiding long enough. You've been waiting long enough. God is saying, step out of the drought mentality. Stop expecting the dry. Stop fearing lack. Stop remembering failure. The rain is falling. Receive it. You may not have everything yet, but start thanking God as if you do. Praise Him like the clouds have already burst. Worship Him like the rivers are already flowing, because praise is the sound that calls down rain. Gratitude is the key that opens heaven. My friend, when God declares that your period of drought is over, it means that the days of silence are giving way to divine movement. It means that what was once barren is about to bear fruit again. The dryness you endured was not an absence of God. It was the shaping hand of God. Sometimes when it seems that nothing is happening, that is when the most important work is taking place beneath the surface. The roots of your faith were going deeper. The soil of your heart was being prepared, and your spirit was being strengthened for the rain that is about to fall. Do not despise the dry season that brought you to your knees. The drought has been your teacher, your refiner, and your guide. It has stripped away what was unnecessary so that what truly matters could remain. You see, when the rain returns, those who have shallow roots may grow quickly, but they will wither when the storm comes. Yet those who have learned to trust God in the drought will stand tall in every season. For they are planted in divine strength. There is a powerful truth you must hold in your heart. God never allows a drought without a divine reason. When He removes, He intends to replace. When He withholds, He intends to overflow. The drought was never the end of your story. It was the setting for your next miracle. It was God's way of showing you that man is not your source, that wealth is not your provider, that success is not your savior. God alone sustains. God alone restores. And God alone can speak life to dead places. And when He does it in ways you cannot predict. You may have expected a small shower, but God is preparing a downpour. He is not just bringing rain to refresh you. He is bringing rain to renew your destiny. The same hands that closed the heavens are now opening them. The same voice that tested your faith is now commanding your blessing to come forth. What once seemed impossible will become undeniable. Hear this: when God speaks, creation responds. The same power that commanded the seas to part, the same authority that brought light into darkness, is now working in your favor. The drought you have faced, whether in your spirit, your home, your relationships, or your dreams, is being broken by the Word of God. He is saying to your heart, "Enough! The drought has served its purpose. Now I will bring you into abundance." Some of you have been walking through a wilderness wondering why doors kept closing, why people turned away, why the things that once satisfied your soul no longer had meaning. That was not rejection. That was redirection. God was removing what could not go with you into your next season. The drought separated you from what was temporary so that you could receive what is eternal. He had to empty your hands so that He could fill them again, this time with something that will last. There is a divine order to everything God allows. You cannot have the rain until the sky has been emptied of its former clouds. You cannot step into your next chapter while you are still holding on to what belongs to the last one. That is why God sometimes has to dry up old wells so that you will dig new ones. He has to close certain doors so that you will walk through the one He ordained for you. The drought was the reset. The rain is the reward. And when the rain comes, it will come with purpose. It will not just refresh your ground, it will restore your harvest. The blessings that were delayed are not denied. The opportunities that seemed gone will return multiplied. For God is not only a God of beginnings, He is a God of restoration. When He gives back in overflow. Listen carefully. The drought made you hunger for what truly matters. It took away your comfort so that you could rediscover your calling. It silenced the noise around you so that you could hear God's whisper again. It humbled your heart so that you could walk in greater power. That is why the drought is over. Because you have learned what God wanted you to learn. You have been refined by fire, and now you are ready for favor. No. There is a difference between those who are crushed by drought and those who are crowned after it. The ones who complain remain in dryness, but the ones who trust rise with strength. God has seen your endurance. He has watched you pray when others gave up. He has watched you worship even when you felt weary. And now He will reward that faithfulness with fruitfulness. You will not only receive the rain, you will become a source of rain for others. When God ends a drought, He doesn't send a drizzle, He sends abundance. He floods the very places that were once empty. The same fields that were cracked with dryness begin to overflow with green life. The same heart that felt empty becomes a fountain of joy. The same lips that once trembled in fear now speak with boldness and gratitude. That's what God's rain does. It revives everything it touches. Your mind will be renewed. Your peace will return. Your strength will rise. You will no longer live in survival mode. You will walk in overflow because God did not bring you through the drought just to survive it. He brought you through so you could testify of His power. Others will see what He has done in you, and they will know that it was God who made a way where there was none. Let this truth sink into your spirit. The drought was never a sign that God had abandoned you. It was a sign that He was about to do something new. Just as the darkest night comes before dawn, the driest season comes before the rain. You are standing on the edge of your transformation. You are moments away from seeing the hand of God move in ways that will leave you speechless. And when that rain begins to fall, do not hold back your praise. Do not minimize your miracle. Thank God for every drop. Celebrate every change. Rejoice in every breakthrough, because praise is not a reaction. It is a declaration that you believe God is still in control. Praise turns a drizzle into a downpour. Praise invites God to dwell in your situation. There will come a day when you will look back on this drought and realize that it was the best thing that ever happened to you. because it taught you what comfort could not teach, what success could not reveal, what abundance could not show. It revealed the strength that only comes from God. It awakened the faith that only grows in dryness. It taught you to depend on divine provision, not human promises. Now the chapter's changing. The heavens are shifting. The clouds are gathering. The wind of divine favor is moving. The drought was a chapter, but it was never your conclusion. God is writing a new story over your life. A story of restoration, of joy, of breakthrough, of divine abundance. And when you walk in that new season, walk with gratitude. Remember where you came from. Remember the days when you cried in the dark. Remember the moments when you almost gave up. And remember who carried you through. The same God who sustained you in drought will keep you in rain. Do not forget the lessons learned in your season of dryness, for they are the foundation that will keep you humble in your season of blessing. The rain will test you just as the drought did, but now you know that your strength does not come from circumstance. It comes from God alone. You have walked through the valley of emptiness, and now you are standing on the hill of promise. You have endured the silence, and now you are hearing the sound of rain. You have tasted bitterness, and now you will drink sweetness. You have been last, and now you will be lifted. When God says your drought is over, no enemy can bring it back. No circumstance can reverse it. No power can block it. For when God opens the heavens, no hand can close them. The same God who created time controls your timing. The same God who formed the earth commands your destiny. There is a shift taking place in the unseen realm, and many cannot discern it yet because they are still looking at the old ground, the dry fields, the cracked soil, the empty streams. But listen closely, for when God declares an end to a drought, the change begins before your eyes can perceive it. It starts in the spirit long before it becomes visible in the natural. The clouds are forming, the wind is turning, and the voice of God is stirring the atmosphere around your life. You may not feel the rain on your skin yet, but the spiritual climate has already changed. The drought has lost its grip. The heavens that were closed are now preparing to open wide. When God says something is over, it truly is over. No force can extend what God has ended. The pain that once lingered will lose its hold. The scarcity that once haunted you will release its power. The drought that once defined your life will become only a memory. Because when God changes a season, it is permanent. The same way He commanded the floodgates to close in Noah's day, He now commands the floodgates to open in yours. The dry land that once seemed lifeless will now become a field of promise overflowing with blessings you cannot contain. Understand this: God does not just bring rain to refresh you. He brings it to realign you. The drought had caused some of your priorities to shift, your energy to scatter, and your focus to blur. But when the rain falls, it washes away confusion. It cleanses the residue of the past. It removes the dust of disappointment and gives clarity of purpose. The rain that God sends does more than water the soil. It restores vision. It revives hope. It renews strength. It awakens the parts of your soul that forgot how to dream. Some of you have carried visions that felt dry and dormant. You buried your dreams in the ground of frustration and told yourself they were dead. But the God who speaks to dust and brings forth life is saying what you thought was buried is about to bloom again. You are not finished. Your purpose is not expired. The seed is still there. It has been waiting for this exact moment, for this divine rain. God has timed your breakthrough to perfection. The drought was only long enough to prepare the ground for greater growth. When the rain comes, it won't come as you expect. It will not come through the same sources that once fed you. The brook that once sustained Elijah dried up, so that he could be led to a new place of provision. God will sometimes allow the old sources to run empty so that you are directed toward the new. He is not punishing you by closing doors. He is positioning you to receive from higher ones. You see, when you depend too much on familiar wells, you forget that God is your source. The drought was His way of reminding you who truly sustains you. Now that you have learned what it means to depend completely on God, the rain will no longer be withheld because He can trust you now. He can trust you with abundance, for you have learned to praise Him even in scarcity. He can trust you with prosperity because in the wilderness you discovered humility. You will no longer worship the blessing. You will worship the one who gives it. You will no longer chase after the rain. You will stay firmly rooted in the one who commands it to fall. And when the rain finally begins to pour, do not hide away behind closed door. Step out and receive it. Many cry out for rain, yet when it comes, they retreat. They fear the shift. They cling to what is familiar. They question what is new. But when God releases the rain, He calls you to move with it. Step into the unknown. Step into the uncomfortable. The rain carries new opportunities, new relationships, new directions. It will wash away what no longer belongs, and it will call forth what has been waiting to emerge. You must also understand that not everyone will celebrate your rain. Some will remain in their drought because they refuse to listen to God's voice. Some will resent your restoration because they chose not to endure their process. But do not let their disbelief silence your gratitude. When the rain falls on you, give glory to God alone. Do not apologize for being blessed. Do not shrink to make others comfortable. You have endured enough to stand boldly in your new season. The time of drought was necessary because it separated you from dependency on people. The rain is coming to connect you directly to God's flow. You will see blessings come from directions you never imagined. Unexplainable provision, unexpected favor, unbelievable restoration. You will look around and realize that the same land that looked lifeless is now alive with promise. But remember this, the purpose of the rain is not only to bless you, it is to make you a blessing. God ends a drought in your life so that you can help end the drought in others. He pours into you so you can pour into those who are thirsty. The overflow that's coming is not meant to be stored. It's meant to be shared. Be generous with what God gives you, and the rain will never stop. The moment you become a channel for others, the clouds will continue to refill. There will be those who question how it happened, how you went from nothing to abundance, from waiting to walking, from tears to triumph. Tell them the truth, it was God. Because no human strategy could make this happen. No plan could produce this kind of breakthrough. Only God could turn dry ground into fertile soil overnight. Only God could make a heart that was tired come alive again. This rain will not only bless your present, it will redeem your past. The years that seemed wasted will suddenly make sense. The prayers that seemed unanswered will suddenly connect. You will see that every dry day was a step toward this downpour. You will understand that what you call delay was actually designed. You will realize that God was not withholding, He was protecting. He was not being silent, He was strategizing. Do not be afraid of this change. When God ends a drought, it often requires you to step into unknown territory. The places you once stood are no longer fertile enough to carry the new thing He is doing. Let go of the past season with grace. Do not cling to what was. Embrace what is becoming, the same way the old leaves fall to make way for new growth. The old chapters must close for your new rain to take root. Lift your spirit because the sound of rain is near. It may start small, just like a whisper in your heart. It might begin with a small door opening, a small opportunity arising, a small change in atmosphere. But do not underestimate small beginnings. From one cloud can come a flood. From one word can come a breakthrough. From one act of obedience can come a lifetime of favor. God is not done with you. He is just getting started. The drought was the proving ground. The rain is the launching ground. The same God who carried you through the hardest days is now preparing to exalt you before the nations. He is turning your private pain into public purpose. He is turning your long nights into testimonies that will ignite hope in others. You will not be remembered for the drought. You will be remembered for how you bloomed after it. When you step into this new season, walk differently, speak differently, think differently. Do not speak like one who is still in lack. Speak like one who lives under open heavens. Do not think like one who fears tomorrow. Think like one who knows that God provides daily. Do not walk like one who is uncertain of their path. Walk like one who is led by divine purpose. The drought taught you endurance, but the rain will teach you expansion. Every time you feel the rain, let it remind you that God keeps His word. He does not forget His children. He does not abandon His promises. He does not overlook faithfulness. You waited, you trusted, you endured, and now you will see what He was preparing all along. The rain will not only fall on you, it will flow through you. It will touch your family, your community, your future generations. This blessing will outlive you. The prayers you prayed in tears will water the seeds of those who come after you. The drought ends with you. The curse breaks with you. The generational dryness stops here because God has spoken. And when God speaks, nothing remains the same. The drought bows to His command. The clouds obey His signal. The ground opens to His voice. And now that He has declared your drought over, your only task is to believe it, receive it, and walk in it. You have entered a season where everything dry will live again, where everything broken will be mended, where everything delayed will be delivered. This is not wishful thinking. It is divine timing. You are standing under the open heavens of God's mercy, and the rain of His favor is falling now. And I tell you, when God declares that your drought is over, nothing in heaven or on earth can stop the rain that is coming. You may have been in a dry place for years. You may have been watching others flourish while you felt forgotten, buried beneath the dust of disappointment. But hear this truth deep in your soul. God never forgets His faithful ones. The silence you mistook for absence was preparation. The delay you called denial was divine timing. God was not punishing you. He was positioning you. He allowed the ground to dry so that when the rain came, it would not just refresh the surface, it would penetrate deep, reviving every buried dream, every forgotten seed, every silent hope within you. The drought is ending because God has seen your tears. He has counted the nights you wrestled with fear, the mornings you rose with weary faith, the moments you smiled through pain, still believing that He would make a way. And now, the one who commanded the sun to stand still, the one who parts seas and speaks to storms, is saying enough. The drought has done its work. It's time for abundance. God does not allow droughts to destroy His people. He allows them to discipline, to deepen, and to develop them. What you called loss, God called pruning. What you called waiting, God called watering, only He waters in silence. You see, when you walk with God, your dry season is not wasted. In that dryness, God teaches you what prosperity never could. He teaches dependence, humility, and discernment. The barren season exposes who was truly with you, who only stayed when the blessings flowed, and who departed when the drought came. God uses the drought to separate the temporary from the eternal, the shallow from the deep. And after the separation comes the restoration. For every dry field in your soul, God is sending rain. For every place you thought was dead, God is speaking life. Do you feel it? That shift in the atmosphere, that quiet stirring in your spirit, that's the whisper of God saying, the drought is over. You are not meant to remain in sorrow, fear, or regret. The drought has served its purpose. It stripped away what could not go with you into the next season. It burned away the false comfort that kept you small. Now God is about to enlarge your territory. When the drought ends, growth begins. But not the kind of growth that is shallow and fleeting. No, this growth will be rooted in faith, grounded in wisdom, and watered by divine favor. The world might look at you and say, how can something so dry ever live again? But God specializes in bringing rivers through deserts. He takes what man calls impossible and makes it inevitable. The same God who brought water from a rock can bring provision from nowhere. The same God who fed a nation in the wilderness can open doors you never saw coming. You don't need to understand how the rain will come. Just believe that it will. The sound of abundance may be faint right now, but it is real. And when God speaks abundance, lack must flee. This is not just about material blessing. It is about spiritual awakening. God is saying, I am reviving your spirit. I am renewing your strength. I am restoring your vision. You were never meant to die in your drought. You were meant to discover God in it. You learned to pray differently, to listen more deeply, to trust when nothing made sense. That faith has matured. That resilience has been refined. Now the reward is coming, not as a quick relief, but as a lasting transformation. God is not merely giving you rain. He is giving you rivers. Rivers of peace that will wash away your old fears. Rivers of wisdom that will nourish your next decisions. Rivers of favor that will refresh your purpose. Every area of your life that has been parched will feel the overflow. The people who once pitied you will stand in awe of what God does through you. Because when God ends a drought, He doesn't restore you to where you were. He elevates you beyond what you imagined. So stop rehearsing your pain. Stop replaying your drought. God is not calling you to relive the struggle. He is calling you to step into the rain. You've mourned long enough. You've questioned long enough. It's time to move forward in faith. God is shifting you from barrenness to breakthrough, from emptiness to overflow, from scarcity to abundance. Do not doubt it because of what you see around you. Rain often begins in the unseen. Clouds gather before eyes can perceive them. That's how God works. He prepares blessings in silence and delivers them in power. Sometimes before the rain comes, there's thunder, spiritual disruption, unexpected changes, even chaos. Don't be afraid of the thunder. It's not the enemy. It's a sign that the heavens are stirring. God is rearranging things, moving what's been stagnant, clearing the sky for your downpour. The shaking is proof that your drought is ending. The enemy is panicking because he knows he cannot stop what God has ordained. And I tell you this, when God says the drought is over, your spirit begins to recognize it before your eyes do. That's why lately, even when nothing has changed outwardly, you feel a strange peace inside. That's God confirming that the season has shifted. You are not the same person who entered the drought. You are stronger, wiser, quieter, but more powerful. You now carry depth. The storms that once terrified you now testify of your growth. God is saying, I trusted you with the drought. Now I can trust you with the rain. Because rain is also a test. Abundance can destroy those who have not been purified in lack. But you, yes, you have been refined. You now understand that everything flows from God and returns to God. You will not worship the rain. You will worship the one who sent it. That's why your blessings will last. That's why no one can take them from you. When God opens the heavens, He does not do it halfway. He does not send a drizzle. He sends a flood. But this flood will not drown you. It will carry you. It will lift you to higher ground. Same waters that destroyed your old limitations will become the very force that transports you into purpose. You have cried long enough. You have waited long enough. Now God is declaring, I will make the dry land flourish. I will cause your roots to go deep and your branches to spread wide. I will make your life a living testimony of my faithfulness. You must begin to speak as though the drought has ended. Speak faith over your life. Declare rain over your home, your health, your work, your family. Every word of faith is a seed that draws the clouds closer. God listens to faith like a magnet to metal. The moment you align your words with His promise, the atmosphere shifts. Don't let fear speak louder than faith. Say it boldly. Even if your voice trembles, God, I believe my drought is over. And as you do, the heavens begin to respond. And when God begins to pour out His rain, it doesn't just touch one area. It transforms everything connected to you. The drought that once limited you will become the testimony that defines you. People will look at your life and wonder how you survived when everything around you was falling apart. They will ask how you kept your peace when the world gave you every reason to panic. And you will say, it was God. It was His unseen hand. It was His quiet strength that kept me standing when nothing else made sense. You will know it was not luck, not timing, not coincidence. It was the mercy and faithfulness of God. When God says the drought is over, He is not only restoring what you lost, He is multiplying what remains. He takes the little you have left and breathes His power upon it until it grows beyond measure. Do not despise small beginnings. The tiny clouds you see on the horizon, the subtle shift you feel in your spirit, that is the sign of something greater unfolding. The same God who turns a single drop into a mighty river can turn one opportunity into a flood of favor. But He does it in His time. His rain is never late, though it may come suddenly. God's timing always carries purpose, and every delay is woven with wisdom. Many people lose hope right before the rain comes. They quit praying when the sky is still silent, not knowing that the clouds are already forming above them. But I tell you, the darkest hour is not proof of God's absence. It is proof that your breakthrough is near. When the drought is longest, the rain that follows is heaviest. God allows tension to stretch your faith because He knows that stretched faith can hold greater blessings. What you thought was the end of your strength was only the beginning of His power. God never allows pain without preparing provision. Every drought ends when obedience begins. You cannot expect rain if your heart is closed. God pours abundance where there is faith, humility, and surrender. Some people block their own rain by clinging to fear or bitterness. But when you release control, when you stop trying to force your own outcomes, the heavens open. God is not looking for perfection. He is looking for trust. The heart that says, God, I don't understand it, but I still believe, is the heart that attracts divine rain. And hear this clearly. Your drought did not mean God was punishing you. It meant He was protecting you. Sometimes God withholds what you want to give you what you need. He shuts doors not to keep you out, but to guide you toward the right one. In the drought, you learned that not every opportunity was a blessing. You learned that not every person was meant to walk with you. You learned that peace with God is better than applause from men. These are the lessons that only the dry season can teach. And now God is ready to reward what you have learned. When the rain falls, don't run for cover. Stand in it. Lift your hands and let it soak every part of you that has been weary. Let the tears of joy mix with the drops of divine renewal. Because when God restores, He does not just fix the broken, He makes it better than before. The fields that were once cracked and barren will burst with color. The heart that once felt heavy will dance again. The spirit that once felt forgotten will now overflow with gratitude. God is saying, I am doing a new thing. Can you not see it? The rain is not coming to remind you of what was lost. It is coming to show you what was waiting. You are stepping into a divine reversal. The same ground that once produced nothing will now bear fruit. The same hands that once came up empty will now overflow. God is turning your drought into a declaration of His faithfulness. He will make sure that the very area where you suffered most becomes the place where His glory shines brightest. That is how God works. He turns ashes into beauty, weakness into strength, delay into destiny. But you must keep your heart ready. God does not pour rain where there is no vessel to catch it. Make yourself ready to receive. Clean your inner ground of doubt, resentment, and fear. Prepare your mind to believe beyond the visible. Speak the language of faith even when your surroundings still look dry. Say, God, I know you are working. I know my rain is on the way. That declaration becomes the signal heaven responds to. Do not compare your drought to another person's rain. Everyone's season is different, and God knows exactly when to send yours. The rain that comes early for someone else might drown you if it came before you were ready. God is wise. He waits until your roots can handle the blessing. So do not envy anyone. Your rain will be right on time. And when it comes, it will not stop. It will flow into every corner of your existence, healing what was broken, restoring what was lost, strengthening what was weak. When God ends your drought, He also silences your critics. Those who doubted you, who whispered behind your back, who thought you would never rise again, they will have no choice but to witness what God does. You won't need to argue or defend yourself. God's reign will speak louder than any words could. The transformation will be undeniable. It will be so evident that even your enemies will have to admit, surely God has favored this one. That is the power of divine vindication. It doesn't come through revenge, it comes through revelation. The drought was not meant to destroy you, it was meant to define you. You have emerged wiser, stronger, and more connected to God. In the silence, you learned to recognize His gentle whisper. In the emptiness, you discovered how precious His presence truly is. Through the struggle, you learned to trust not in your own understanding, but in His unshakable promises. That kind of transformation can never be taken from you. This is why your next season will stand firm, because it is rooted in the lessons you gathered during the drought. So now, as heaven opens above you, do not step forward in fear. Step forward in faith. Every single step you take from this moment carries a blessing. Every move you make is guided by divine purpose. Every challenge that comes your way will only prove how deep your roots have grown. You are no longer shaped by your circumstances. You are a living vessel of God's power. The drought prepared you. Now the rain will reveal you. The world will finally see what God has been forming within you all along. A spirit that will not break, a faith that will not tremble, and a life that radiates divine strength. Listen closely, my friend. The message you are hearing right now is not a coincidence. It is no accident that your eyes have found these words. This is divine alignment. This moment was written in heaven long before you ever took your first breath. God has declared that you will be a billionaire. And this is not a message of empty dreams. It is a call of divine instruction. There is a voice in the Spirit calling your name right now saying, "Rise, for your season of small thinking has come to an end." You have walked through years of drought, across deserts of disappointment, through long nights when no one believed in you, yet God never forgot the promise He whispered into your soul. When God releases a word, it never returns empty. It goes forth carrying power, life, and destiny. And when God says you will be a billionaire, it's not for vanity, not for fame, not for the love of gold. It's for divine purpose. You are chosen to be a vessel of provision, a carrier of abundance, a distribution center of blessings. The wealth coming to you is not just money, it is influence, it is wisdom, it is dominion. God is raising you up to show the world that a person who walks with Him lacks nothing. You see, many doubt this kind of word. They say, "How can God make me rich when I have nothing?" But that's exactly how God works. He builds greatness out of emptiness. He takes those whom the world ignores and makes them kings in the field of life. God never chooses the already qualified. He qualifies the chosen. That's why He let you go through the struggle, the pain, the rejection. He wanted to see if you would still believe when there was no sign, because true wealth begins in faith. Before God fills your hands, He fills your heart. Before He gives you abundance, He tests your endurance. So when you were broke, you were not forgotten, you were being prepared. When you were rejected, you were not abandoned, you were being refined. When doors closed, it wasn't because God was punishing you. It was because He was protecting you from small opportunities that could block the billion-dollar destiny He has planned for you. Every sleepless night, every tear, every setback was part of divine mathematics. You were being built for overflow. The world may not see it yet, but heaven already has your name written on the scrolls of prosperity. God has recorded your future, and it is vast, wealthy, and full of power. He is about to bring divine connections, supernatural opportunities, and uncommon favor into your path. You will meet people you never thought you'd meet. You will walk into rooms you never dreamed you'd enter. You will hear your name mentioned in places you've never been. Because when God says a word, He mobilizes creation to fulfill it. But hear me well, before God gives you the billions, He must trust you with the small. That's why He watches your heart in the season of little. How do you treat your small job? How do you handle your limited income? How do you behave when you have nothing to give? Because the spirit of a billionaire is not born in luxury, it is born in faithfulness. God will not hand billions to a careless heart. He will not open doors to a spirit that complains. He is watching your attitude when you only have a few coins, because your response in scarcity determines your readiness for abundance. And let me tell you this truth. When God makes you a billionaire, it will not be by your power. It will not be through your cleverness or your degrees. It will be through divine acceleration. There are some blessings that are humanly impossible. They require divine intervention. God can breathe on one idea and turn it into a river of wealth. He can connect you with one person who changes your entire destiny. He can make your name travel faster than you ever could. God's timing is never late. It's perfect. There are people who are already carrying your blessing without knowing it. They have the contracts, the investments, the properties, But those things are just being held in trust until you step into your divine moment. God will shift them into your hands when the time is right. He is preparing the stage, aligning the hearts, softening the gatekeepers. Everything that belongs to you is being positioned right now in the unseen realm. You might not see movement, but heaven is busy. The world calls it luck. God calls it fulfillment. And when that moment comes, no man can stop it. No government, no system, no envy can block what God has signed. You're about to see the kind of favor that cannot be explained. People will look at you and wonder, how did this happen? But you will know it was God. He said it and He performed it. But hear this. This word is not for the faint-hearted. It is for those who have faith to believe the impossible. The billionaire promise is not just a reward, it is a responsibility. God will use you to build, to bless, to transform. Your billions will not be for luxury alone, but for legacy. You will feed nations. You will fund visions. You will rescue the broken. You will build what others only dreamed of. Because when God blesses you, He blesses generations through you. That's why your journey was so hard. That's why the pain was deep. God was not punishing you. He was stretching your capacity. You prayed for abundance, but God knew you needed to be emptied first. You prayed for wealth, but God had to first remove greed, fear, and pride. He cannot pour divine riches into a heart still attached to old wounds. So He stripped you. He humbled you. He broke your comfort so you would depend on Him completely. Now God is saying the test is over. The training is complete. The appointed time has come. You will rise with clarity, with authority, and with a divine mandate. The same people who mocked you will witness your transformation. They will see that your faith was not foolish. It was prophetic. You believed when it made no sense. And now the sense will follow your belief. You must understand that when God releases wealth, it comes with instruction. He will speak ideas into your spirit. Do not ignore them. He will give you visions in the night. Write them down. He will push you to move when it feels risky. That's your moment of faith. Billionaires of God are not people of comfort. They are people of conviction. They do not wait for signs. They become the sign. There will be moments when fear will whisper, "What if you fail?" But remember, when God said it, He already prepared the outcome. You cannot fail when God is your source. The economy may fall, but your provision will rise. The markets may shake, but your wealth is not tied to the system of man. It's tied to the covenant of heaven. God's abundance is not limited by inflation, by politics, or by world events, and He can make rivers flow in deserts. He can turn one seed into a forest. And when He blesses you, stay humble. Never forget the nights you cried, the seasons you walked alone, the prayers you whispered in the dark. Remember who carried you. Remember the one who made it happen. Because pride destroys what faith builds. God blesses those who remain grounded, or He lifts those who bow before Him. Your billions are not coming through greed. They are coming through obedience. Every time you obey a divine instruction, you unlock a door. Every time you give when it hurts, you attract divine favor. Every time you trust God in uncertainty, you multiply your spiritual wealth. The outward wealth follows the inner posture. Let me tell you, wealth without purpose is a curse. That's why God is giving it to you, because you will know what to do with it. You will not worship it. You will use it. You will bless with it. You will heal with it. You will build with it. You will lift others with it. You will not hoard. You will release because your heart is not after the money. your heart is after God. And when you chase Him, wealth chases you. Listen, every great billionaire of God was once invisible. Every chosen one was once overlooked. The hidden years were divine training grounds. God hides His treasures until the time of unveiling. You are not behind. You are being prepared. You are not late. You are being aligned. You are not forgotten. You are being refined. And when the season of unveiling comes, it will happen suddenly, overnight, unexpectedly. People will look and say, "Where did this person come from?" They won't know the years you spent in prayer, in silence, in sacrifice. They won't know the days you kept faith when everything screamed, "Give up." But God saw it all. He recorded every tear, every act of obedience, every moment of quiet trust. Now heaven is releasing your reward. The time of waiting has reached its fullness. The billion-dollar destiny written over your life is awakening. Divine hands are working in your favor. The angels of opportunity are moving. The systems of wealth are shifting. God has declared your name in the atmosphere of favor. You are about to see supernatural acceleration that will make your enemies speechless and your family weep with joy. But remember, the wealth is not the end. It's the beginning. You will use it to make the earth better. You will lift others out of darkness. You will bring hope to the hopeless. You will restore dignity to those forgotten. You will be a light in the marketplace. Because the real billionaire is not one who has much, but one who gives much. And God can trust you with more because your hands are open. There comes a moment in every destiny when the voice of God speaks louder than the noise of the world. That voice has called your name. It has declared over your life that you will rise beyond every limitation, every curse, every generational pattern that tried to keep you small. You are not just being called to have wealth, you are being called to transform what wealth means. When God said you will be a billionaire, He wasn't just talking about the balance in your account. He was talking about the capacity of your spirit. He was talking about the divine expansion of your influence, your impact, your power to change lives. God is not raising you to chase money. He is raising you to command it. Do not misunderstand this calling. God does not want you enslaved by riches. He wants you entrusted with them. He is looking for those who will rule over money, not be ruled by it. And that is why He chose you. Because through every season of lack, you didn't lose your integrity. Through every moment of scarcity, you didn't curse God when others gave up. You still whispered, "God, I trust you." You proved yourself faithful when nothing was working. And now God is about to prove Himself faithful in ways you never imagined. You may feel unqualified. You may look around and see people more educated, more connected, more skilled than you. But hear this truth. God does not choose the qualified. He qualifies the chosen. He makes ordinary people do extraordinary things. He takes those who have nothing and turns them into living testimonies of His power. You may not have the resources, but you have the source. You may not have the support, but you have the promise. And when you have the promise of God, you have everything. Do you know why your journey has been long? Because God builds slowly when He builds something strong. A weak foundation cannot hold the weight of great wealth. That's why He had to strengthen your character before expanding your territory. That's why He let certain people walk away. Because not everyone can handle the version of you that is about to emerge. Some were meant to witness your struggle, but not your success. Some were placed in your life to teach you loyalty, not to walk with you into prosperity. God separated you, not to punish you, but to protect the promise inside you. Listen carefully. When God says you will be a billionaire, the spiritual realm begins to rearrange itself around that word. Angels move, doors unlock, energy shifts, people's hearts soften, and yet it may look like nothing is happening, but that's because God works in silence before He works in sight. He hides the seed so it can grow roots. You are still in the hidden phase, but something powerful is germinating beneath the surface. When it breaks through, it will not be small. It will shake the ground around you. Do not despise small beginnings. The path to divine wealth often begins with invisible obedience. God will whisper simple instructions that seem unrelated to your dream. Call this person. Start that idea. Give this amount. Forgive that person. Each command is a test of alignment. Every act of obedience becomes a building block in your billionaire destiny. You are not just earning wealth, you are attracting divine flow through surrender. Obedience unlocks abundance. You must understand that when God gives you wealth, He gives you it to demonstrate His power. He doesn't bless you so people can worship you. He blesses you so people can worship Him through what they see in your life. You will be a living example of divine possibility. People will see you and say, if God can lift them, then He can lift me too. That is the kind of billionaire God is raising you to be. One who carries glory, not arrogance, and one who multiplies blessings, not burdens. And many of you have been through seasons that nearly broke you. Businesses that failed, relationships that collapsed, betrayals that left you questioning your worth. But those moments were not your destruction. They were divine construction. God was not taking things from you. He was making room for something better. You had to lose the wrong opportunities to gain the right ones. You had to be emptied to be filled. You had to face the night so you could recognize the dawn. And the dawn is here right now. As you listen, the spirit of delay is being broken off your life. The curse of almost is being destroyed. God is releasing you from the cycle of trying and failing, of reaching and missing, of hoping and losing. You will not live in the land of maybe anymore. You will step into the land of manifestation. This is not the time to wish. It's the time to walk. The promises of God are not for the hesitant. They are for the bold. Faith is not waiting for proof. It is moving as if it is already done. There are moments when God will ask you to step before you see the bridge, and that is the price of destiny. You cannot reach billionaire territory with a fearful heart. You must walk by faith, not by sight. You must trust the voice of God more than the noise of the market. You must believe that divine instruction is stronger than economic prediction. Because when God decides to bless you, He doesn't check the world's economy. He creates His own. You will not become a billionaire by copying others. You will become a billionaire by following the blueprint God placed inside you. There is something unique about your vision, your voice, your ideas. That's why imitation will kill your progress. God doesn't anoint copies. He anoints originals. Your power is in your authenticity. When you walk in who you truly are, heaven backs you. The universe responds to divine originality. And when the wealth begins to flow, and it will, guard your heart. Don't let success make you forget the process that birthed it. Stay humble before God. Remember that the same hand that lifted you can sustain you. Pride kills what humility multiplies. The secret to lasting wealth is a heart that bows even higher as it rises. Never mistake ownership for stewardship. You are not the owner. You are the caretaker of what belongs to God. Let your generosity become your protection. Wealth that stops flowing begins to decay. When God pours blessings into your life, do not close your hands. Keep them open. because the open hand is the one that continues to receive. Every time you give, you declare that money has no control over you. You move from being a collector to becoming a vessel of blessing. And when you live as a vessel, God keeps filling you because He knows the flow will never stop. You can never outgive the source Himself. There will be those who question your calling. Some will mock, gossip, and say, "Who do you think you are, bull?" But do not answer with pride. Answer with patience. Let God be the one to defend your name. Let your success become your silence. You owe no explanation to those who cannot comprehend divine timing. The evidence of your destiny will speak louder than any word you could ever say. The same mouths that doubted you will one day call you blessed. Understand that being a billionaire is not just about wealth, it's about influence. God is positioning you to speak to nations, to change systems, to shift culture. He is giving you a seat at the table so you can bring divine wisdom into human structures. You are not being elevated for entertainment. You are being positioned for purpose. Every field, business, technology, education, health, finance, needs people who carry the light of God. That's why He's sending you there. There will be temptations along the way. The higher you rise, the louder the distractions become. But you must guard your spirit. Never trade your peace for profit. Never sell your values for visibility. Never let the promise make you forget the promiser. Keep God as your foundation, and your wealth will never destroy you. When you keep your eyes on God, no amount of gold can blind you. Sometimes God will make you uncomfortable to move you into your next level. Comfort is the enemy of calling. Do not fear when He shakes your routine. It means He's shifting your dimension. He will pull you out of familiar places to expose you to greater realms. The discomfort is not rejection, it's relocation. He is moving you from the ordinary to the extraordinary. Mark this moment. The wind of divine wealth is blowing in your direction. Ideas will come to you effortlessly. You will begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. Your hands will attract favor. Your name will be associated with excellence. You will move in realms where lack cannot follow, and all of it will happen not because of who you are, but because of who God is in you. Every word spoken by God carries creative power. When He said you will be a billionaire, that word began creating conditions for it to come true. Even now, connections are forming, resources are moving, and divine timing is aligning. You don't need to know how. It's not your job to understand the process, only to trust the promise. God knows how to turn water into rivers, dust into diamonds, effort into overflow. There is a divine reason why God placed this message in your path. You are not here by accident. Every word being spoken right now is an answer to the secret cries of your soul. The cries you whispered when nobody else could hear. God heard you when you said, "I'm tired of struggling. I'm tired of being overlooked. I'm tired of giving my best and still coming last." And God is answering you now, not with pity, but with power. He is saying, "I have not forgotten you. I have seen your faithfulness. I have watched you stay true when others compromise. I have seen you sow when you barely had enough to survive. I have heard your prayers, and I am turning your drought into abundance." You see, when God promises elevation, He first purifies the heart. He cannot bless a soul still poisoned by fear or bitterness. That is why you face betrayal, misunderstanding, and loneliness. God was cleaning your spirit. He was removing every trace of doubt so your blessing would not destroy you. You had to be emptied of self so you could be filled with divine purpose. What you thought was rejection was actually selection. What felt like loss was preparation. You were never being punished. You were being positioned. Wealth is not created by money, it is created by revelation. True riches begin when God opens your understanding to see what others overlook. There are ideas floating in the atmosphere right now, and they are waiting for the one who listens. God gives insight to the quiet soul. That's why you had to go through isolation. He wanted your ears unclogged from the noise of the world so you could hear His whisper clearly. In stillness, He shows direction. In silence, He gives strategy. You will not rise because of what you copy. You will rise because of what God reveals uniquely to you. And when that revelation comes, act on it without hesitation. Obedience is the bridge between promise and manifestation. When God gives an instruction, it may sound unreasonable, yet that is where the miracle lies. He might tell you to start a project with no money, to apply for something you're not qualified for, to bless someone even when you're in need. Those are divine tests of trust. If you obey, you activate favor that human effort could never produce. Each act of faith opens a door that logic could never unlock. Understand this: your wealth will not be ordinary because your calling is not ordinary. You are being prepared to handle the type of success that humbles kings. God is not raising you to show off. He is raising you to show the world that righteousness and prosperity can live in the same house. You will be the proof that walking with God does not mean living in lack. You will be a voice of balance, a living message that faith and abundance are not enemies, but partners in divine purpose. The reason you have felt pressure is because the promise on your life is heavy. God gives big tests to those carrying big destinies. You've been stretched but not broken. You've been delayed but not denied. You've been hidden but not forgotten. The time of exposure is near. God hides His treasures until the appointed time because early exposure can destroy unprepared vessels. But now you are ready. The pain has purified you. The waiting has matured you. The fire has forged you into gold. Soon, your life will move so fast that you'll barely recognize it. The same days that once felt empty will overflow with opportunities. The same places that once rejected you will call for your wisdom. Those who ignored your ideas will now seek your advice. And when this happens, remember this truth: your wealth is a tool, not your identity. You are not what you own. You are what you give. Your purpose is to be a channel through which God's abundance flows into the world. Do not fear success. Many people secretly sabotage their blessings because deep down they believe they don't deserve them. That is a lie from the pit of limitation. You are worthy because God said you are. He designed you for greatness before you took your first breath. You are not trying to become what you already are. You are awakening to what has been waiting inside you all along. Every skill, every vision, every dream in your heart is not random. It was planted by God as evidence of your calling. The dream is your assignment disguised as desire. You will begin to see doors open effortlessly, but do not mistake ease for coincidence. It is not luck. It is alignment. When your spirit aligns with God's timing, what used to be hard becomes natural. You stop chasing and things begin to chase you. You stop begging and favor starts finding you. The world will call it breakthrough, but you will know it was divine synchronization. God is placing you in environments where your gifts will shine, where your efforts will be multiplied, and where your name will carry authority. Guard your peace fiercely. Wealth without peace is just noise. The true mark of divine success is tranquility in the midst of abundance. If something costs you your peace, it's too expensive, no matter how profitable it looks. Never compromise your integrity for gain. What comes through dishonor cannot be blessed by God. Stay clean in motive, pure in intention, and generous in heart. These are the currencies of divine wealth. You are being called to operate on a level of vision that transcends competition. You will not compete. You will create. You will not chase trends. You will set them. You will not imitate. You will innovate. God is about to make you a pioneer in your field. Where others see obstacles, you will see openings. Where others stop, you will start. You will walk in strategies that have never been written, using wisdom that cannot be taught, because your teacher is God Himself, and He never gives average instruction. Be mindful of your environment. Not everyone can walk with you into your next chapter. Some relationships were only for your past season. When God promotes you, He subtracts for your protection. Do not mourn those who left. Their absence is part of your elevation. God is surrounding you with new people, those who match your future, not your history. You are stepping into circles of destiny, into partnerships that carry divine timing, into conversations that will shift your level permanently. You must learn to see yourself the way God sees you. Stop calling yourself small when He calls you mighty. Stop speaking as if you were defeated when He already declared you victorious. Your words carry creative power. Speak as if the promise is already here. When you say, God is increasing me, heaven begins to move. When you declare, I am walking in abundance, you authorize divine systems to align with your confession. What you speak becomes your atmosphere. Do not measure your future by your current condition. God often starts with nothing to prove that He can make something out of it. Remember, every empire begins as an idea. Every great building begins as a plan. Every forest begins with a single seed. The seed may look insignificant, but inside it is an entire harvest waiting for faith to activate it. You may not see the billions yet, but God has already placed the potential inside you. Every challenge is watering that seed. Every delay is strengthening its roots. When it finally sprouts, it will not grow gradually. It will explode. The coming abundance will not just change your finances, it will change your identity. You will begin to carry yourself differently. You will think differently. You will speak differently. You will live in a higher frequency of faith. Poverty will no longer fit you. Small thinking will feel like a cage. You will walk with quiet confidence, not arrogance, because you will know that everything you have came from the hand of God. And let me tell you this, when you finally step into the promise, give glory to the giver, not the gift. Remember the nights when you prayed for light. Remember the days when all you had was faith. Don't forget the valleys that taught you strength. Gratitude is the lock that keeps blessings from escaping. When you thank God continuously, you anchor the flow of favor in your life. You will become a testimony that will awaken others. People will look at your journey and feel hope rise again. Your story will break chains. Your transformation will ignite belief. You are not just being blessed, you are being positioned as proof that God still fulfills His word. You are a sign in motion. Every breath you take will remind the world that divine promises never expire. So walk boldly into your calling. Refuse to shrink back. Refuse to settle. You are not called to blend in. You are called to stand out. You are not an echo. You are a voice. You are not a dreamer anymore. You are a fulfiller. God has written your name among those who will shape generations. The season of obscurity has served its purpose. Now comes the season of demonstration. You will build what others only imagined. You will fund what others prayed for. You will bless what others could not reach. You will operate in territories that once intimidated you. You will break barriers of culture, race, and limitation. You will be respected not for what you possess, but for the divine wisdom that flows through you. The world will see in you what divine excellence looks like when a person walks with God. This is your time. The spiritual gates are open. The season of manifestation has begun. Heaven has released a word that cannot be revoked. God has declared your abundance, and no force can reverse it. The drought is over. The waiting is over. The struggle has served its purpose. You are about to witness what happens when faith meets divine timing. When God has chosen you for a destiny of abundance, He will not consult your bank account, your background, or your degree. God looks at the heart that believes when everything looks impossible. The world may laugh at the word billionaire, but God is not limited by the opinions of those who lack vision. When God speaks prosperity, the heavens record it as law. What God declares cannot be revoked by man. If God has said you will be a billionaire, then no economic collapse, no rejection, no failure, and no delay can cancel that decree. God's word is not a suggestion. It is a promise. You must believe that when God speaks over you, creation rearranges itself to make His word come true. There are times when you will feel unworthy of such a promise. You will question why God would choose you for wealth when others have worked longer, studied harder, or been born into privilege. But God does not choose according to human logic. He chooses according to divine purpose. There is a reason you are hearing this message today. There is a reason your spirit feels something stirring deep within you. God does not plant a dream without the intention of bringing it to life. The desire in your heart to create, to build, to give, and to expand is not greed. It is a signal of divine assignment. God wants to use your life as proof that faith still produces miracles. Many people misunderstand wealth. They think it is about accumulation, but divine wealth is about transformation. God is not trying to make you rich so that you can boast. He is preparing you to be a vessel of blessing. You cannot feed the hungry if your hands are empty. You cannot build schools, heal communities, or bring hope if you are bound by lack. That is why God raises certain people to uncommon levels of prosperity. It's not favoritism, it's stewardship. God trusts you because He sees your heart. He knows that when the abundance comes, you will not forget Him. When you walk with God, your wealth will not come by chance. It will come by covenant. You are not chasing money, Kur. Money will begin to chase you because you are walking in divine purpose. Every idea, every opportunity, every open door will be orchestrated by God's unseen hand. You will begin to notice divine patterns, meetings that seem accidental but are heavenly arranged, delays that turn into direction, losses that become lessons. Everything is working toward one thing, your preparation for prosperity. God cannot pour out what you are not ready to carry. That is why He builds you in secret before He blesses you in public. Do not mistake your waiting season as denial. God uses delay to develop discipline. A billionaire mindset is not created overnight. It is shaped in silence, molded through patience, and tested through storms. You cannot handle great responsibility with a small spirit. God must stretch your faith, enlarge your vision, and purify your motives. When you feel like nothing is happening, God is sculpting your character. He is removing the greed, the pride, the fear, the doubt, so that when He blesses you, your heart remains pure. There will come a moment when everything shifts. You will wake up one morning and the opportunities you prayed for will start chasing you. The people who once ignored you will now seek your wisdom. The projects that seemed too big will suddenly make sense. That's not coincidence. That's divine timing. When God says, "Now, even the gates of resistance will open." The same land that once rejected you will now welcome you. You will not need to beg for doors to open because God Himself will become your doorkeeper. You must stop thinking small. God cannot fill a cup that refuses to expand. Lift your expectation. Speak like you believe. Walk like the promise is already yours. When you speak faith, the atmosphere changes. Your words carry spiritual power. Say it boldly. God said, "I will be a billionaire, and I believe." You are not lying. You are declaring alignment. Every time you affirm what God has spoken, you give permission for heaven to manifest it on earth. But remember this: the journey to divine wealth is not a sprint. It is a sacred process. God will test your obedience with little before He trusts you with much. How you manage 100 will determine how you handle 1,000,000. How you honor God in scarcity will determine how you glorify Him in abundance. Wealth does not change your heart, it reveals it. That is why God must refine you now, so that when you rise, you remain humble, grateful, and generous. There are people watching you right now, doubting your destiny. They whisper, "He will never make it. She will never become anything." But they don't understand that your story is not written by their words. It is written by God's will. The same mouths that mocked you will soon speak of your testimony. The same eyes that rolled in disbelief will one day look up and wonder. God will not just bless you. He will use your success as a stage to display His power. Don't be afraid of success. Some people subconsciously reject prosperity because they have been taught that wealth corrupts. But the truth is, wealth in the hands of the godly changes nations. When God blesses His chosen ones, it is not to corrupt them, but to empower them. You will be the one funding the orphanages, the hospitals, the scholarships, the movements that bring light where darkness has ruled. Your wealth will have a purpose. It will speak of God's mercy and might. The world needs more people who love God and understand business, leadership, and influence. God is positioning you to be that person. You will be invited into boardrooms not because of your title, but because of your anointing. You will carry a calm authority that comes from knowing your source is divine. When others panic, you will stand still because you know your wealth does not depend on markets. It depends on God's command. And when the time comes, God will connect you with the right people. You don't have to chase connections. Divine relationships will find you. You will meet mentors, partners, and allies who share your vision. Each one will play a part in fulfilling what God already ordained. Every destiny helper is drawn to obedience. So keep walking in faith, keep sowing in integrity, keep trusting the unseen hand of God. Never forget, wealth without wisdom destroys, but wealth with God glorifies. That's why you must keep your heart grounded. Every morning when you wake up, acknowledge that the wealth belongs to God. You are just the manager of His resources. That mindset keeps pride from poisoning your blessing. Speak gratitude daily. Let humility be your foundation, and you will rise higher than you can imagine. There will come a moment when you realize you no longer fear lack. Because once God becomes your source, the fear of shortage dies forever. You will walk into rooms with quiet confidence, knowing that the same God who gave the vision will provide the provision. You will see God open doors that money couldn't open and bring favor that experience couldn't buy. Your wealth will not come by striving. It will come by alignment. You must prepare your spirit for overflow. God cannot fill a vessel that still thinks small. Expand your faith. Study excellence. Plan strategically. Pray consistently. Speak boldly. Work diligently. But above all, believe relentlessly. Because when belief meets obedience, miracles multiply. When you truly walk in God's covenant of abundance, lack loses its power over you. You were not born to live an ordinary life. You were born to demonstrate what happens when a person fully trusts God. When you carry divine favor, you don't compete. You dominate. You don't chase. God elevates. You don't beg. God positions. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. You are stepping into divine prosperity, although not to impress, but to impact. And one day when you look back at where you started, you will understand why God took you through every valley. It was never punishment. It was preparation. Every hardship taught you the value of responsibility. Every rejection built resilience. Every waiting season built wisdom. And when you finally stand in the fullness of your blessing, you will not say, "I made it." You will say, "God did it." When the journey has tested you, refined you, and strengthened your faith, you will understand why God said you would be a billionaire. It was never only about the money, it was about the mission. God chose you to prove that faith still works in a world that has forgotten how to believe. He raised you not to flaunt gold, but to reveal His glory. You will stand as a testimony that when a human being fully surrenders to divine instruction, heaven releases abundance beyond imagination. The riches that flow into your hands will not corrupt you. They will complete the purpose God wrote for your life before you were even born. Every tear you cried in secret will become fuel for your future. Every closed door will make sense when you realize it protected your destiny. The people who doubted you will have no choice but to witness what God can do through someone who refuses to quit. You will walk into rooms designed for kings, yet remain humble because you know it was not your power that brought you there. It was God's promise. You will give freely, love deeply, and lead with compassion because your heart will always remember that everything came from the source who never fails. God has written a divine script for your life, and this chapter is called Abundance. You are stepping into a season where what once felt impossible will become effortless. You will not chase blessings. Blessings will pursue you. You will not seek validation. Favor will find you. The words God spoke that you will be a billionaire are not wishful thinking. They are divine prophecy. Keep them close within your heart. Walk in full obedience to His voice, and let your faith remain firm and unshakable. When God speaks, the universe listens. Doors open, paths align, and destiny takes form. Move forward with confidence. Walk with divine boldness. Let your life proclaim to generations yet to come that faith in God is the truest form of wealth anyone can hold. And when the world witnesses your success, let them not see greed but grace, not pride but proof. Proof that when God decrees elevation, no force on earth can bring you down.